Hello everyone and welcome back to Small Room Audio. Now today, got to start with a confession. Sometimes in life we've got to admit that we're wrong, and you know that time is now today, because a few reviews ago I looked at the CHORD QUTEST DAC and I did say with quite a lot of surety and authority that it could not be upgraded. It didn't have an OAMP that you could switch in and out, it didn't have any software update that you could change, and it didn't have any interchangeable or switchable parts. Therefore, the only way to upgrade it would be spend a lot of money on a M scaler. Now, I was wrong. It's hard for me to say that. My wife will tell you that, in fact, it's almost impossible for me to say that. But today I'm here to show you a way in which you can upgrade the CHORD QUTEST DAC, and that is through power. I was pretty skeptical, and I think my journey in audio has taken me down a few routes which I think are a little bit snake oil-ish, and we'll get to those in other videos. But today I think when we're looking at power sources, there is a genuine difference between what you feed the DAC and what it will sound like. So let's go into those options today. I've got two relatively affordable options and two slightly more expensive options to look at, and hopefully by the end of it you'll see a way in which you might want to tinker with your CHORD QUTEST DAC and get a slightly different sound signature from it. Okay, first up, what we have is the iFi iPower 5-volt switch mode power supply. Now, this is what I believe to be a fairly affordable upgrade at £49. It brings a little bit of improvement. We're talking about small percentages here. So what does it do if you plug this in to your QUTEST rather than the standard switch mode power supply? Well, I think it gives you a little bit more clarity, a tiny bit more detail, possibly the dynamics are improved just a smidge, although that might just be me having positive bias, thinking I've bought something and therefore it's more dynamic and alive. But it does feel like there's an improvement, a very small one, but probably about worth it for £49, I'd say. A decent investment, I think, if you want to play with it, particularly if you like something which is crisp and nice on top. Alternatively, for slightly less money, you can get a battery pack. Got this for £30 from Amazon. It was actually not bought for audio in any way. It was bought for my Nintendo Switch, which I take on trains, and therefore it would make my games console last longer. Yes, I'm a nerd, okay. I'm doing a hi-fi channel, of course I'm a nerd. Anyway, this makes the sound different again. So what we're doing with the battery supply is taking it off the internal supply of power completely. The noise floor does drop probably a little bit more, but we also have slightly less dynamics and a slightly softer top end. Now, depending on your speaker and your amplifier setup, you might prefer that. So with my Bowers & Wilkins 705S2 speakers and also with my Klipsch Cornwalls, it was quite nice to use this. It just sort of, softened the top end and it was quite pleasant to listen to. However, you do miss that little bit of sparkle when you've got a slightly darker speaker or something that needs to be pepped up with a bit of power. So again, this gives you a different character. It's not necessarily better than the iFi, it's just different, and often that's the way in audio. You get to have a smorgasbord of options, and it's what you like, not necessarily what's better for someone else will be better for you. Anyway, that's a battery pack, and that's quite good as well. Now, if we want to go up the value chain a bit, we can invest a little bit more money. This is the Ultra Cap, the LPS 1.2 by Uptone Audio from America. Now this is a big step up in price. We're paying $435, which is about £340 for a power supply. So that's about a third of the cost of the CHORD QUTEST, so not an insignificant amount of money to invest in a power supply. So we should expect something which makes a big difference, and I'm happy to report this does. What does it bring? Well, it's just really rich, really organic, really full. It's kind of like if I was to compare it to wine, you're going to the full body section now. It's like a Barolo or a really big fat sort of Rioja Gran Reserva. It's got lots of meat on the bone all of a sudden. And it makes poor recordings sound very pleasant and listenable. and it was great. I mean, you can put this on and enjoy your music and not worry about what you're picking or what genre or anything like that. And it works particularly well with an analytical speaker because it just sort of, you know, gives something a bit more organic to proceedings, so it's not quite so mechanical. Really enjoyed this. However, what it doesn't give you, and this is the kind of trade-off, is it doesn't quite give you that 3D soundstage. So with the uptone audio in there, there's an element of depth, but it's relatively 2D. But the 2D is very, very good. You know, it's really, you can taste the music. You know, you can sort of bite into it and chew it and think, oh, that is lovely. And it's kind of like the roast dinner of power supplies for the QUTEST, if you like. It's very warming and homely. That's excellent. Now you can go up the ladder once again, spending more money, as of course you always have to do with this hobby, and spend about £450 on this. Bit bigger, bit heavier. What is this? Well, this is the Paul Hines design SR4T, T standing for turbo, because it's a slightly upgraded version of the standard SR4 power supply. This is in the 5 voltage configuration. Now we're in the big boys league, all right? This thing is pretty magic. It's expensive, but the soundstage is back and there's a lot more depth, okay? So we do have a sense of layering that you would get for probably a better DAC. So you're kind of upgrading the QUTEST to a standard which I think is quite noticeably better. You get a sense of the reed when it's played on an instrument. You get a sense of the vibration on a string on a guitar. It's just got that level of detail, that level of nuance and feel to it that the other power supplies I've mentioned today don't have. What it does do though in a negative way is it gives back that slightly analytical vibe. So with the uptone audio in situ, everything sounds really good. With the Paul Hines design power supply, everything will sound crappy if it's recorded poorly and the mastering is a little bit ropey as well. So you have a trade-off there. So those are 4 options that you can use to upgrade your CHORD QUTEST DAC. All of them are different. I do believe the 2 more expensive options do bring something better to the table, but of course that is up to you to decide how you need to complement your own system and increase or decrease certain elements of it to get that balance just right. I was challenged in a previous video in the comments section to try and describe some of my reviews in terms of food and drink. So I quite like wine, red wine in particular, so let's use that to quickly go through the 4 options in summary. First off, the iFi iPower. I say that's like a Chianti from Italy. Nice and drinkable, but a bit of an acidic edge. You would need to pair it with something to make it palatable, such as nice sort of relatively smooth speakers and amplification. Otherwise it might be a little bit too acidic for you, but certainly there's plenty of punch. Moving on to the battery pack, I would say that is like a very soft, easygoing Merlot. You can drink loads of it, you can give it to your friends, no problem. Everybody will love it, everybody will get drunk. Then you go to the Ultra Cap from Uptone Audio, the LPS 1.2. I think this is a really rich Rioja, maybe even a Grand Reserva. It's got tons of body, makes everything just coat it in loveliness, and you'll have a very nice time. And then finally, going to the Paul Hines design, I would say this was probably something quite special, perhaps a Chateauneuf de Pape, something from France where you'd buy it for a birthday and you'd be very pleased you did because it was a special occasion. Okay, hopefully I've met the requirement of that comment from a previous video, used wine to describe how I view these power supplies, and hopefully give you a flavour, pun intended, for how these different things can change your sound and just give you a little bit of something different and potentially upgrade something you've already got and enjoy. If you've enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here very soon.